All right. So those were the major transitional figures, and now we get into a group known as the pluralists. Right? And the pluralists, well, they stand in opposition to the monists. Right? They stand in opposition to the Milesians, who believed everything is made of one thing, and also to Pythagoras and Parmenides and even Heraclitus. Right? Um, because their argument isn't that the world is made of one thing, it's made up of multiple things working in conjunction with each other. Right? So our first pluralist is Empedocles, who lived from about 490, 490 BCE to 430 BCE. Right? And now, moving away from Parmenides, we go back to like the original formulation of this question: what is everything made of? And for Empedocles, his answer was the elements, right? Water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony, but everything changed when the fire. No, not Avatar: The Last Airbender. He included a fifth element in his thinking, love, actually. Right. So less Avatar, more Captain Planet. And if you're young enough to not know what Captain Planet is, I don't know whether to feel sorry for you or not because it was so cheeseball. But also really good environmental messages. Eh. Um, so he was one of three philosophers that I'm aware of who claim to have solved philosophy with this. Right? I mean, you see it already. Like you can see why he would have confidence in this. Like the of the philosophers we've discussed who predate him, right? The first philosopher, the father of Western philosophy, Thales of Miletus, said water, right? And his student's student, Anaximenes, said air, right? And Heraclitus, who was often misunderstood as saying that fire was the base element rather than, change, and fire was just a metaphor for that, uh, Heraclitus said that it was fire, as far as like Empedocles understood him. Uh, Heraclitus also said that the soul was the inner fire of the body, the inner heat of the body. And that when that dies, so does you. So do you. Right? It's the one case in which fire was less of a metaphor in his philosophy. Right. So what does Empedocles do other than add two things? Right. Specifically, earth and love. Right. To explain how the elements interact with each other. Like they either hate or love each other in various degrees, which attracts or repels them, and to create different substances. Right. Uh, so you can see why he would have the confidence of thinking that he solved philosophy. Right? This is the great question of philosophy to this point. The great question. What do you do when you think you've completely solved the great question? Well, if you're Empedocles, you go to Mount Etna, a dormant volcano with an active magma chamber, and throw yourself in. Because what else are you going to do? You solve philosophy. There are no more questions worth pursuing. Bit of a foolish move.